On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area, welcome to one of our 2017 primary election candidate forums. I am Beverly Austin, your moderator. Election day for the 2017 primary is August 1st, 2017. Since this is a top two primary in which the two highest vote getters will advance to the general election in November, our forums will consist of races where there are more than two candidates. We hope this opportunity to learn about the candidates will help voters make an informed decision when marking their ballots. Now, before we proceed, a reminder about voting in the primary. You must be registered to vote in order to vote. You can register by mail or online by July 3rd, 2017, up to 29 days prior to Election Day. You can register in person up to July 24th, 2017, 8 days prior to Election Day at the Spokane County Elections Office, 1033 West Gardner Avenue. Registered voters will receive their mail-in ballots about 3 weeks prior to Election Day. Ballots must be postmarked or deposited in conveniently located ballot boxes no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day, August 1st, 2017. Ballots can be dropped off on Election Day at one of the voter services centers. For locations of ballot boxes or voter service centers or information about accessible voting units or other questions about casting your ballot, contact the Spokane County Elections Office, 477-2320, or go to www.spokanecounty.org/elections. Contact information for candidates as well as a voter's guide can also be found on the website of the Spokane County Elections Office. Additional information about the candidates can be found on the League of Women Voters online voter guide, www.vote411.org. And now we meet the candidates for Spokane Public Schools Board of Directors, District number 81, Position 5. All voters within the boundaries of Spokane Schools District number 81 will select two of these candidates to advance to the general election. Joining us today are Jennifer Thomas, Mike Weiser, and Jessica Yoakum. The questions I will be asking the candidates have been formulated by the League's Voter Education Committee. Candidates are seated in alphabetical order, and the first speaker will rotate with each question. Candidates will have up to 1 minute to answer the initial question, with additional time for rebuttal or a follow-up question as appropriate. And each candidate will have the opportunity for a 1-minute closing statement. I will ask as many questions as time allows. Our timer, Molly Hannon, will hold up a card when the speaker has 15 seconds remaining and a red card to indicate time is up. Our first question goes to Jennifer Thomas. What qualifications do you have to serve in this position?
Well, my primary qualifier is that I am a mom of 4 students. So I am well-versed in what education on the home front looks like. As well, I, in 2013, went through a program called Parent Ambassadors, which looked at working with parents to advocate for their kids and their education. as well as lots and lots of years working in the community. I currently am working with the Jonah Project, which is rescuing girls out of human trafficking, and on the Spokane Human Rights Commission. And so looking at the diverse issues of the community, whether it be poverty, homelessness, trauma, those are all conversations that I am well versed in and on a daily basis. I'm working with children and families who are working with those.
Thank you. Mike, what qualifications do you have to serve in this position?
Well, first, thanks for having the forum. It's a pleasure to be here. Appreciate the visibility into the school board race. My qualifications, I think, start with the fact that I have 2 children in the district. I've been a graduate of Spokane schools myself and have been a parent volunteer for over a decade in education, in the classroom, working with kids. On the professional front, I have an engineering, business management background, as well as strategic planning. And on the board so far, I've found that very valuable in terms of being able to work with district administration and really talk about how to measure programs for accountability, for success, and to look at things so we can ensure equality and equitable education for all students.
Thank you. Jessica, what qualifications do you have to serve in this position?
I haven't actually been involved with the community as long as my counterparts, but I really did get involved this last year with the Bernie Sanders campaign. I kind of tried my hand on organizing and found out that's something I can really do. And I seem to be able to reach voters that aren't typically being targeted. And I noticed that's something that was lacking in our community. So I started an organization where I try to get leaders and the voters together to try to educate the community on how they can get involved. I've done some workshops with those, and besides that, I am also a student at SFCC right now, so I'm kind of, although I'm not in District 81, I understand the student, kind of the pressure and the feeling it is, how it is to be in the education system. And I don't have children in the school district right now, but my child will be there in a few years, and I hope that I can help the school district by then.
Mike, if elected, what are the top 3 issues you want to address?
I think that the number one is just general program accountability. I think we, as a district, have made a lot of improvements in graduation rate and reducing disproportionate discipline. But I think we can look at other measures of success that are meaningful to kids and make sure that no matter what zip code a child comes from, no matter their resources at home, they all have an equal shot at success. So that's my number 1 priority. My number 2 priority is excellent options for all schools and all students. Not just option programs that are in different buildings, but actually leveraging the experience we get from those different programs into the neighborhood schools and creating schools that are great across the system in general. And then my last one is around community partnerships and community engagement. I've been working really hard to reach out to lots of groups, to visit lots of schools. I want to be that voice of the community and represent all different voices and bring that to the school board for decisions.
Jessica, if elected, what are the top 3 issues you want to address?
Well, first and foremost, I would try to work with the board to address the rise in bullying of minority students in our city. And I don't feel like our city feels like that's been addressed in the past. So my first and foremost thing or issue would be to revisit that issue with the board and see what we can do to make our students feel more safe. And be more safe. Secondly, I would like to sort of even out the disparity in pay in Spokane. At this point, we all know that there is a gender pay gap in our city as well as the nation, and I would like to investigate and see if that's happening in our school as well and remedy that if that is an issue. And then other than that, I would like to like my counterpart here, would like to address the disproportionate discipline in our district as well.
Jennifer, if elected, what are the top 3 issues you want to address?
I think parent involvement for myself is something that is a really important issue in looking at the school board. A couple of times I've come to school board meetings, and oftentimes the parents seem like the outsider when really the parents are there because, number one, it's their child, number two, to support what the educators are saying. I also would focus on collaboration with stakeholders. We need to create a 21st century workforce and students who are coming out of our schools that reflect the type of workforce that we're wanting. So business owners and community leaders and innovative problem solvers. And I think that sometimes we try to fit kids into a box that isn't producing those outputs. And that also leads to my third point, which would be programs that kept students not only engaged and in school, but passionate about learning. So,
Good. Jessica, what are the pros and cons of Spokane's charter schools?
Spokane's charter schools are actually kind of a unique animal when it comes to charter schools. I appreciate the way that our charter schools actually are functioning. It seems like it's providing an option for children to excel where there isn't an avenue for that right now. Where I feel there's a deficiency is exactly the way that there's a deficiency countrywide. Charter schools shouldn't have to exist. They shouldn't have to have a separate avenue to excel. Our public schools should already be meeting the needs of all spectrum of our learning or proficiency for our students. So I think that's the biggest failure in charter schools as a whole, and I think that carries over into Spokane as well.
Jennifer, what are the pros and cons of Spokane's charter schools?
I agree with Jessica. I really like Spokane's format and how we have incorporated charter schools into the Spokane public school system in giving parents another option on how their kids would best be educated. So I also agree that with Jessica that we shouldn't. I want our schools to be offering what students need. Let me give you an example. My kids all have food allergies. If I could only shop at the grocery store in my neighborhood and they didn't have the food that was best to feed my kids' bodies, it wouldn't nourish them. They would be weak and not have enough energy, and they wouldn't be able to function at their max capacity. If there is a better option for my kids, that's what I want to find. I don't think that charter schools should compete with public schools. I think that they should collaborate together, and Spokane Public Schools they are offering many options for all the kids.
Mike, what are the pros and cons of Spokane's charter schools?
So I agree with my counterparts that the pros have been the way this district has authorized and taken a role in being able to select those charter schools. There are two community-based charter schools that are nonprofits. They have boards that are located here, and the students I've talked to who go to them really like the experience so far. So I think those are pros for the community and for the district as well, and being part of it, because we can learn from what their experiences are. We've already been doing some learning about how they've been using some curriculums. I think the cons, I don't think we're there in terms of cons yet, because what I would see as the cons, if they grew too big where only the engaged parents were in the know about sending their kids to those different charter schools, then you might start creating some disparities in terms of how the funding is going, because the parents who aren't supporting their kids as much won't choose the charter schools. So I think that I look forward to seeing those two charter schools grow, and the Spokane schools learning from them, and also doing our own programs as well.
Jennifer, what should the school district do to assist homeless students?
Great question. So currently, statewide, when a student is homeless, it's not information that the teacher has the privilege of knowing. I think that when we look at making accommodations for all students, teachers value, and educators value knowing what is happening on the home front with a student in order to be able to best assist them. So I think first and foremost, we need to be able to equip educators, teachers, people in our schools to accommodate homeless kids. Also, the problem is soaring. It's tremendous. I know from working with kids in human trafficking that they have a 36-hour window, and 1 in 3 winds up getting trafficked. So this isn't just that it's affecting their education, it's that it's affecting the trajectory of their life. So it's a big problem.
Mike, what should the school district do to assist homeless students?
So I think we're already doing some good things with the HEART program, and we see a graduation rate for homeless students that's above the state average at 75%, which is pretty good considering 86% overall for the district. We could be doing more. I think obviously when kids are experiencing homelessness, they're not in class as much, they have trauma, it's difficult to learn. So I think one thing, things I'm interested in and passionate about is school-based and school-linked healthcare, and I think that our school district can work more with existing healthcare partners to bring resources to those students, because if you're homeless and transitioning in your living situation, you're much less likely to get the dental care you need, to get the mental health and the physical health care you need, and those can all impact learning. So I'd like to see more community partnerships around that, and also look forward to seeing kind of the evaluation of how our HEART program is doing from a kind of a numbers basis, and see if there's opportunity for improvement there.
Jessica, what should the school district do to assist homeless students?
I actually agree with both my counterparts in this subject. It's a hard subject. You know, the only thing you can do is know about it before you can fix it. So I'd like to add to what both they said, or what both of my counterparts said, and just mention something that's unique. LGBT students are often subject to homelessness because their families actually kicked them out. So there are a lot of, or there's bullying, or where this is happening. I think that we need to be really diligent in providing a comfortable and safe place where they can tell you if that's happening. So I think we really need to explore what we can do as far as making students feel like they can come to you, because you're not going to be able to catch everything.
Mike, the mandate for smaller classes means the district needs more classrooms. What's your strategy for adding needed classrooms?
Well, my strategy is to be part of the engagement that's already started around grade school configuration by the district. I think they've done a really good job being really early in preparing for the 2021 bond, because we can't do it with existing funds. We have to actually wait and wait for the next bond cycle, because we don't want to go beyond what the taxpayers are ready to pay for right now, which is the existing level of resources. So what we need to do to prepare for that is to continue to involve diverse groups of stakeholders, talking about hard choices around redistricting, because you can't just add classrooms to existing buildings. You actually have to build new schools, and that process should be a long-term process that takes multiple years, that involves probably hundreds of discussions with community members, and looks at all the different options that we have to use it, make our funds go the farthest with more physical space, which we definitely need.
Jessica, the mandate for smaller classes means the district needs more classrooms. What's your strategy for adding needed classrooms?
I actually also agree with Mike in this situation, but I just want to emphasize that what it actually boils down to is we have to have more buildings to have more classrooms. Like he said, we can't just add another classroom to a building. And so it does need to be something that's talked about finding a way to where we can accommodate for these students without just cramming them into a building that they're already in. So of course that's going to have to be something that we explore not only with the community, but with parents, and actually realistically it'd be wonderful to get the students' opinion on that as well. So thank you.
Jennifer, the mandate for smaller classes means the district needs more classrooms. What's your strategy for adding needed classrooms?
Adding needed classrooms is a complex conversation. We can't build schools overnight, and clearly funding for schools is a topic that is very hard to come to an agreement on also. We, bottom line, need to be strategizing, strategic planning forward for where we're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, because Spokane is growing, it's not shrinking by any means. And we want people to be here. We all love our community, and we want to see it grow and thrive. As well as where we're at in reducing classroom sizes, we also have looming down the road, adding preschool to existing school buildings, which is another issue that I have not heard talked about much, but it is a space consideration that we should be talking about now.
Okay. Jessica, we understand there is a teacher shortage. How would you solve that?
Well, firstly, you want teachers to want to teach here. I think a large part of this, and this has been a discussion the last few years about teachers' wages, I think it's really important that we try to take a stand and kind of make an example of our city and show that teachers, because they're such a valuable position and such a valuable asset to our community, that they really are being paid that way. I'm sure most of us know that teachers contribute some of their own money to classrooms, and it would be lovely if our teachers that taught here and love the students didn't have that burden on them. So firstly, I would love to make it a great place to teach.
Jennifer, we understand there is a teacher shortage. How would you solve that?
Another complex problem. Oh, these complex conversations that we get to have. Looking at the fact that teachers, every single one of us have had one teacher, if not multiple teachers, because we're all reading and having conversations and engaging with the community. Teachers are valuable. We would, as a community, suffer greatly without phenomenal teachers and educators. We need to be treating teachers as professionals. It is sad to me that students will make remarks that garbage men make more money than teachers, and that is no way to encourage anybody to go into the profession of teaching, or educators in general, because a lot of learning happens in school building that's not just from a teacher, but teachers, specifically certified teachers, we need to treat them as professionals and pay them as professionals, and respect the hard work that they're doing every day.
Mike, we understand there is a teacher shortage. How would you solve that?
So I agree that there's a shortage. I think a few years ago, back in the recession, an opening would come up and there'd be dozens and dozens of applications, and now you might have a handful. And for some things like special education and science and math, you might have very few or none for a period of time that you can actually hire and put in the classroom. So we have to first and foremost make it an appealing job. Teachers need to feel safe and need to feel valued as professionals and compensated fairly. Another thing I think we need to do is just look at creative solutions. The legislature just passed a law this year to free up the process by which teachers get credentialed a little bit, to make sure that it's a little bit more streamlined. I think we can do more with at the state level to make sure we're using other states' processes and valuing what other states have done and making it easier for teachers to come here. And also we can do more, and the district is, with paraprofessionals and doing some kind of on-the-job training and supporting their desire to become teachers in the classroom.
Jennifer, what else should the school district be doing to prepare graduating students for the work world?
Spokane Public Schools is definitely, they have been collaborating and working with stakeholders in the community to create avenues. We need to expand those avenues. AGC, for example, has a program for contractors to go through. Working in the construction industry is a phenomenal career choice. And so making sure that students have exposure to many avenues of work so that they can be self-sustaining, tax-paying citizens. That's a goal for all of us, is that that our students would graduate, that they would be employed, and that they would love doing what they do. Also looking at the fact that not every student is going to go on to a trade school or a 2-year or 4-year program. That's a great goal for us to have for them, but not every student, that's not everyone's goal. So.
Mike, what else should the school district be doing to prepare graduating students for the work world?
I think we've done some good things to connect students with businesses through internships and through career and technical education. Had the opportunity to go to a CTE fair and see some of the work that students had done to get into the restaurant industry and kind of experience that, or robotics. And you can see the passions that it created, and sometimes the opposite, where they thought, I don't want to get into that after all, I want to do something different. I think we can do more of that. We have a T24 goal in the district, technical education, 2-year college or 4-year college. That's great, but sometimes you walk the halls of the schools and you see just university banners, and some students feel a pressure to, if I don't say I'm going to go to university, then people are going to think I'm thinking poorly for myself. But there are some great trades to go into. We have a shortage of things like plumbers and welders. Those can be great middle-class careers and fulfilling jobs. I think we can do more to encourage, first of all, partnerships with business to get the kids that experience, and second, just encouragement that that's an okay path to take if it's something that they want to do.
Jessica, what else should the school district be doing to prepare graduating students for the work world?
Well, I think that there's a lot of focus on getting a job. That was pretty much like the major focus, even when I was in school, was how do you get a job? But I don't think that they're being taught what their rights are as employees, or how to actually get involved with your community afterwards. So it's not just, I think that the employee section is not just the only relevant part of this. I've talked with so many of my friends over the past, 12 years of being an adult since high school, talking about, we didn't learn how to find out who represents us, or, that you can run for school board, or how to vote, or what the tenant laws are. So I actually think that it would be very useful for us to have a life skills class that teaches you these things so that you don't get taken advantage of once you get into the real world, and you are dealing with these things, not only earning money, but using it.
Mike, we understand there is a problem with disproportional discipline in our schools. How would you address this?
So there has been a problem. It's been a big problem. Our rates of arrests and disproportionate discipline have been sometimes close to double the state average, so it's not a good situation. I think the last year especially, I think driven a large part by community input, the district has made great gains. In talking with our security director, Mark Sturck, I do feel confident that he has the right vision for the campus resource officers to move them from more of a policing mindset to really being resources for students and being folks who can support students one-on-one, and who students know they can go to at any time and not have fear that they're going to be treated like they're up to something no good. So I think there's great things going on. There's lots of training in place around restorative practices that's rolling out across the district. And what I like to see is just, one, the community stay engaged and monitoring that, and two, that we as a community, also teachers, staff, principals, students, set some goals for what we think we want to achieve with restorative practices and with positive behavior interventions and supports, which is another best practice we could be doing more of.
Jessica, we understand there is a problem with disproportional discipline in our schools. How would you address this?
I think this is a very complicated issue, to be honest, because I find it hard to believe that our students are twice as unruly as other students in the state. So something must be going wrong in the diagnosing of these problems. I think that the resource officers is being a comfortable place for these students to go is a great idea. And my boyfriend that did go to school here in District 81, he told me that the resource officers were a great place for him to go. And I feel like we really need to do more of this, providing a way, not just with the resource officers, but providing a way for students to have an outlet aside from, just inside. But also, we need to be more observant. We need to be able to notice these issues before they start. And I think what we talked about before this, being able to talk to these students and have them trust you and talk to them before they get to the point to where they feel like they need to lash out or have behavioral issues, we need to be able to nurture that.
Jennifer, we understand there is a problem with disproportional discipline in our schools. How would you address this?
Yes, in fact, in Spokane Public Schools, we spend twice as much on community resource officers as any other district in the state. I see that as a huge issue. I think that we need to be looking at the fact that oftentimes discipline issues are linked to homelessness. So when we also have schools that have such high homeless rates, that these kids aren't acting out, like Jessica said, because they're extra bad kids or because they don't want to participate in the learning process. But when you're hungry, when there's trauma, when you don't know where you're going at the end of the day, those are issues. Parents brought before the school board and educators last week the idea of having safe rooms that would be like a place for students to be able to go in with a social worker in there and talk through things, similar to the positive behavior reinforcement that the state is trying to implement. But bottom line, we need to have a program that we can implement well, that everybody can be trained on, and that we don't throw at teachers and just expect them to adapt it overnight with no training.
Thank you very much. Now you will each have 2 minutes for your closing statements in which you can tell the voters what you would like them to know about you, and if there are other issues that we didn't address today, that's your chance to talk about those. So we'll start with you, Jessica.
On the spot. Okay. Well, I think that the reason that I'm here right now is because I felt like I was being pushed aside, left behind. I was the voter that had a lot of feelings about things that I just couldn't figure out why we couldn't do something about it. And so primarily, I want, even if I'm not on the school board at the end of this, I want people to know that they can be part of this. And I really want, above all, to get people engaged in the civic process. So if I can get one more person to fill out their ballot, then this is a success for me. So you care about what's going on. I promise you do. Message me, talk to me. I can help you find a way to use whatever skills you have to make a difference in our community.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Well, first of all, you can find me on my website. It's Jennifer for Spokane. That's Jennifer, the number 4, Spokane.com. My phone number's on there and a place to connect with me, and I would love to hear your feedback and the issues that are important to you, because it is my desire to represent the community's concerns matched with the educators' process of working towards the same goal that we all have, which is student success. That's at the bottom of it. So, bottom line, I'm passionate about education. We cannot continue to fail our kids, and we have to have common sense, compassionate solutions, working on the diverse, complex issues that Spokane is facing now and that are looming on the horizon. I look forward to collaborating with stakeholders and educators and representing your concerns and making sure that at the end of the day, our kids graduate, are engaged in their community, are employed, and are pursuing their goals. That's mine.
Thank you. Mike.
Thank you. So, my experience on the board so far, I've seen a district that's really quite well run with really professional educators and administrators. I think we're showing better results in terms of graduation rate. We're monitoring early warning systems and adding more supports to kids at younger ages. We're doing some of the right things, but we still have a lot of ways to go. We can do more to expand the choices that we've created in the district, not just within the choice programs we have, but also within the neighborhood schools as well. And we can do more to start to drive down into the disparities in outcomes at a deeper level. What I'm most concerned about is the fact that if you know the zip code that a child lives in, it's really far too easy to predict the outcomes that they might achieve in Spokane public schools. The school system can't be fix everything if a student's home life is very disrupted, but I think we can do better, and we can set higher goals, and we can work towards achieving them. And I think that so far what I've seen that I think will make the difference and take our school system to the next level is a highly engaged community where board members are listening for ideas, because there are ideas out there. When you go to schools, you see programs that are working really well. You see teachers doing amazing things. You see really happy students, but you don't see those everywhere. And I think what we need to do is look at those best practices and just be a lot more rigorous with setting community expectations for spreading those across the district. I think if we do that, we can reduce some of these disparities. We can look at best practices around bullying, and we can improve the climate for students. My other major concern is that we, as a school district and system, we focus too much on standardized test scores. What we really want is achievement for all kids in a way that matters to them, goals that are relevant to them, that makes them happy and in place to succeed in life.
Thank you to the candidates for Spokane Public Schools Board of Directors, District Number 81, Position 5. Jennifer Thomas, Mike Weiser, and Jessica Yoakum. This concludes our primary election candidate forum. The League will host a general election forum in late September for the top 2 finishers in these and other contested races in the general election. And in case you joined us after the program began, here is a reminder about voting in the primary. You must be registered in order to vote. You can register by mail or online by July 3rd, 2017, up to 29 days prior to Election Day, August 1st, 2017. You can register in person up to July 24th, 2017, 8 days prior to Election Day, at the Spokane County Elections Office, 1033 West Gardner Avenue. Registered voters will receive their mail-in ballots about 3 weeks prior to Election Day. Ballots must be postmarked or deposited in conveniently located ballot boxes no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day, August 1st, 2017. Ballots can be dropped off on Election Day at one of the voter service centers. For locations of ballot boxes or voter service centers, or information about accessible voting units, or other questions about casting your ballot, contact the Spokane County Elections Office, 477-2320, or go to www.spokanecounty.org/elections. Contact information for the candidates, as well as a voter's guide, can also be found on the website of the Spokane County Elections Office. Additional information about the candidates can be found on the League of Women Voters online voter guide, www.vote411.org. The League of Women Voters of the Spokane area is a nonpartisan political organization encouraging informed and active participation in government, influencing public policy through education and advocacy. We invite you to visit our website, www.lwvspokane.org for more information. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area, thank you to all of the candidates for their participation in this forum. And thank you, our viewing audience, for the willingness to learn more about the candidates and their issues. We hope that this forum has helped you in making an informed decision when you cast your ballot by Tuesday, August 1st, 2017. Thank you for joining us.